It's finally time to get this 52 Ford running and driving. Hopefully after this weekend or the next. By the time this video is done, this thing is a moving, driving vehicle. We do have some parts that we're waiting on yet, but where we left it was I managed to get it to start for the first time, and we did not have a gas pedal, so I rigged up a chunk of wire tied to the carburetor as my gas pedal. We're gonna make it so it has gas pedal, brake pedal, steering's working. This thing's gonna run and drive. I got my temporary fuel system hooked up here. Just a hose stuck in a gas tank with a pump on it. Battery sitting in it. We're gonna get it started up, pull it inside, get this thing put together this weekend.
I'm gonna go.
Oh, that's fucking annoying.
What happened there?
Covered up so you get water out. Take that off, so she's flooded. It's the extra fuel. Gotta take the bag off the end.
Oh. You can do it! That little gasoline tank. Nice.
I unhooked the fuel pump when it flooded.
Safety.
So I gotta hook the fuel pump back up, I'm pretty sure. I gotta mess with the choke. Well, that took a lot more effort than I expected. Not having a carburetor return spring is probably not a great idea when you're starting a motor. And the choke was setting the height up so high. It was revving like crazy, but it drove in, which is so much better than pushing this heavy thing. So not too bad. She has been sitting since before power tour. Started right up. We're gonna go through and actually get a throttle cable here instead of this janky wire. I thought it was actually catching on the wire, but it was the high RPM cam for the choke that was kicking the idle up so high. And so I don't have the choke wired up yet, so obviously it was sticking on. But fired right up, ran pretty good. I know I still got that transmission line leaking. It did leave a little spot in the parking lot on the way in. We're gonna get that fixed, and we're gonna get this thing all wired and ready to rock and roll. So we're show where we're at here. The back of the cab is gonna get sound dampening material put on it because he's gonna throw subs underneath the seat. So we figured out how we're gonna mount the seat. It's a third row seat out of a Suburban, so it had like clip-in floor. We took a bolt through a bracket onto a piece of pipe, and when we get the seat, it'll lock right onto it. I don't know if you probably can't see it too good in here, but there's a little clip right here that's gonna lock it in. Probably not the best welding table. All right, so what I'm gonna do next is these two plugins go into the ignition harness, or the ignition that's on the steering column that's in the truck. This is just an extra column because I have to steal a couple parts off of it. What we have to do is rewire all of these wires into all of these wires for this ignition. And then that'll plug into this steering column, and we'll have the ignition on the column. All right, I went ahead and got all the butt connectors to connect all the wiring to the ignition switch. This ignition has an extra output that we don't need for the factory harness here, so we can use this for stereo or air compressor, or whatever we want to do with it. Still have to get my brake pedal exactly figured out because it's really close to the column, so that I can hook up the brake pedal switch. And this bracket is really close to the high beam switch, which I got mounted in there. And so instead of having it on the floor like the factory Ford did, or like the GM motorhome did, we're gonna take this and wire it up onto the column, so that way this switch works. Got all my switches connected with the exception of the brake pedal switch. Still have to do a little bit of work on that, but it cleaned up pretty nice. Fuse box all mounted. I have an extra power wire on that side that has a circuit breaker connected for constant power. This wire is still my current throttle cable, but I do have a new gas pedal down there, so we'll get that figured out. So we did a bunch of talking yesterday about how exactly we're going to mount all of the air system, and what I believe what we're going to do, obviously tank and compressors are going behind the cab and under the floor of the bed, but the block, because the wires to his electronic gauge are really short, we're actually going to run the solenoid block and put it on the firewall. Not sure exactly where, but somewhere this block, and then we're going to run all the hoses from each wheel to it and one airline in, and then the sensors get ported right into the block. So he's got a digital gauge panel that we're going to mount to the face of this for his speedometer and tachometer and oil pressure and all that, and then he's possibly going to put a screen type radio with GPS in it. So still have lots to do. So after I got all the wiring done, we went ahead and got the gas pedal mounted and drilled the holes in the floor for the shifter. So we're gonna go ahead and get the shifter actually mounted to the floor today too. This is kind of crazy. The factory sound dampener from Ford was basically corrugated cardboard. So the Be Quiet mat that we put on there is going to make a heck of a difference. You can hear how tinny the roof still is, and the back sounds way more solid. So air compressors getting mounted, starting to do all the plumbing for the air system. So I went ahead and plumbed all the air system and connected the compressors for a second. So we've made some major accomplishments so far. We have a gas pedal with throttle cable connected, return spring on, so should have a little bit better throttle control. The seat is completely mounted. We're going to reinforce these a little bit better. The shifter's mounted on the floor where it belongs. Like I said, we got gas pedal, brake pedal. They're a little far apart, but he says he likes it that way. We got the air compressor all plumbed in together. We sprayed it all down with a hose to make sure, or soapy water, to make sure we didn't have any leaks. There was a little bit of leak on the lead hose, but I'm actually wondering if that's supposed to happen because to bleed head pressure off the pump. I don't see any problem with it. I took the hose out and it's not leaking from the check valve, so should be no issue with that. Kind of figured out exactly where we're going to mount the air block underneath the dash, and the gauge cluster, or the gauge for the air compressor, is probably going to go underneath the dash on that side of the steering column, because we have the gauge panel, which is going to go up here for speedometer and tach. Yeah, we're getting a lot accomplished. So ratchet shifters installed, that's huge. The gas pedal. We also, the guy picked up the sheet metal for the sides to bend the box. So we should have those back by like Tuesday, Wednesday. And so next weekend we can hopefully start to fabricate the box. And this will be a completed truck here real soon. He ordered some new different headlights and some different spike lug nuts to match the rears. And yeah, she's coming together quite nicely. So we got the frame all started to be welded up. This is upside down, obviously, for the bed of the truck. The sides, we got our first notch cut out for where we're going to put the axle through it. And we're going to see how it fits once we put this back on the truck. Here's one of several modifications going on the 52 here. We got it over on this hoist now. We are putting exhaust cutouts. So he'll have turn downs for now, but we might end up actually running these and putting them in the fender coming through. We're not sure. For right now, you can see where this is here. We're gonna have these turn downs attached, pointing right behind the wheels, right at the ground. For a little demonstration, you turn it on, you hit off, and you actually can't just open it a little bit. It opens all the way, or all the way closed. It's got a limit switch built into this box. And so you just flip it one time and it opens all the way up, stops. You hear a little relay click because it loaded all the way open. And then same thing to close it. Well, sadly, we didn't quite get it finished. I had hoped in this video to make it be able to actually drive down the road, or at least through the parking lot. It does pull in and out, and we probably could drive it through the parking lot, but technically we still don't have exhaust. There's a transmission fitting that we had to order because we couldn't find one in town. Still have several things to do with the wiring. A main fuse block is necessary, and he ordered those. So really, we're waiting on some parts. Next video, this thing for sure will drive. Hopefully we'll even get to do a burnout with it.